Friends and family, welcome to another live broadcast brought to you by Premier's Turning Point, with your host, Bishop Dr. Uton Lang, and co-host, Overseer Franklin Williamson. We pray and hope that something that is being said today will bless your soul and spirit. Please take a quick moment to like and share this broadcast with your friends and family. Thank you again for joining us. Let's go into our live program.
Blessings, one and all. This is Bishop Dr. Uton Lang saying welcome to another day where we have Premier's Turning Point. We're very excited today. We're going to do a COVID-19 kind of summation, roundup, and answer all your questions. Because remember, the purpose of Turning Point is to give out all the information that we can so that you can make a very educated and knowledgeable decision about everything that we are going to cover. So today, of course, we're covering the COVID-19 pandemic, and we are excited. Of course, we have our co-host, Overseer Williamson. But today, I'm very happy because we have two special guests with us. We're co-promoting this program with the Greater Central Jersey Clergy Association, and we have both the president and the vice president with us today. In a minute, I will have them introduce themselves so you can learn all about them. So if Overseer is all set, we're going to have Overseer just to say a quick introductory word, and then we'll move to Minister Molly and then to Reverend May.
All right, thank you all again for joining us. This is Overseer Franklin Williamson out of Gospel Tabernacle. As you know, we're here with Turning Point, and our goal here is to educate not only our church congregation, but also the wide world America. And as you know, we are still in this pandemic, and the vaccines have been rolled out. We have some data, and we just want to share that with you. And yesterday, the CDC met, and they talked about the J&J. As you know, that it has been placed on pause, but we're waiting to hear the update. But I want you now to take a moment, share, invite someone so they can listen to this great information. Thank you. God bless you. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. So glad to have you.
Thank you. Minister Molly?
Yes, my name is Minister Molly Germain. I am the founder and president of Molly Germain Ministries and the vice president of the Greater Central Jersey Clergy Association. And we're excited to be here today to talk about this topic that is so dear to everyone's hearts today. We need to keep abreast of what's happening with COVID-19 and, of course, to get our vaccines. So I thank you, Bishop Lang, for inviting us, and we're looking forward to the discussion.
Wonderful. Minister Reverend May?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Reverend May Beelin. I am serving at this time as the interim pastor at Rosa Sharon Community Church in Plainfield, and also the president of the Greater Central Jersey Clergy Association. For those who might not be aware of who we are, some of our listening audience, we are a community of churches, ministries, houses of faith, and different denominations, and also civic organizations that are committed to having a positive impact on our community and looking for ways that we can work together to help to promote and solve problems, promote the solutions to problems that might be haunting our communities. So today's program is an excellent start to be able to listen and find out additional information about the COVID vaccine and all of the latest updates. It's not often that you get to have a one-on-one with a physician, and so I'm excited to be able to take part of this program today.
Welcome all. And again, remember, as we said, please like and share with all your friends so everybody can get this information. I am going to start out with a little bit of an overview, and following that, Overseer Williamson is going to do an overview of prevention and what we can do. He's an educator, by the way. He's kind of mentioned it before, so he's out there in the trenches in that way as well, and a pastor. So he's going to share with us, again, and go over a little bit of the prevention. So I'm going to take about 5 minutes, do a quick overview. I will touch on pretty much everything quickly And then through the questioning, we'll be able to just answer more things. So first of all, just a quick update on the virus update. So far, there's been about 146 million cases worldwide. There's been about 32 million cases in the U.S. About over worldwide, about 83.8 million people have recovered. That means have had the virus and recovered completely. And the death toll overall is about 3.9 million. So that's kind of really daunting data. But I think we want to focus on how we're going to move ahead and really try to get everybody. Now, the symptoms that you will see if you're infected, and the symptoms may appear anywhere from 2 to 14 days after exposure to the virus. And people with these symptoms may have fever, chills, cough, shortness of breath, or difficulty breathing, fatigue, muscle and body aches, headaches, new loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion and runny nose, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. And those are some of the major symptoms. Also, you should look for emergency warning signs. If someone is showing any of these signs, you may want to seek immediate emergency care. And these signs would be trouble breathing, persistent pain or pressure in the chest, new confusion, inability to wake or to stay awake, and pale gray or blue colored skin, lips, or nails, depending on skin tone, of course. And you want to call your medical provider or go to the closest emergency room if you have any of those major symptoms. Now, there's multiple vaccines that are now available. The CDC does not recommend one over another, but we have, of course, the Pfizer, that's a 2-shot regimen given 2 weeks apart. The Moderna, again, the Pfizer is for 16 and older, and they're working on potentially recommending it down to age 12, but we're waiting on that. The Moderna, people 18 and older, that's again is a 2-shot regimen, 4 weeks apart, and 2 weeks after the second, and then of course the Johnson & Johnson, which is a one-shot regimen. I will talk a little bit more with the question about the Johnson & Johnson since there's been some new development. But in general, our immune system is the body's defense against infection. And you understand that a general understanding, you have macrophages, lymphocytes, all of this working, and these are set into action by foreign body or anything coming into your system. So with the virus and with the immunization, these are the foreign things that comes in that your body then just set up the defense and then make antibody. I want to just touch briefly on basically how the vaccines work. We have two major types, basically. So different type 1s work in different systems offering the protection. So you have the mRNA vaccines, which are the Pfizer and the Moderna, and they contain material from the virus that causes COVID-19. So they have a protein that looks like the protein on the virus that is then brought into the cell by the mRNA, and then your body's defenses work against that to develop antibodies against a protein subunit. And this is what happened. The key pointers with that is there's no effect on your DNA. This does not go into the nucleus of your cell. Rather, it goes into the cell, and the ribosomes in the cell produce these proteins that then the body reacts against. Then we have the vector kind of vaccines, and this is now basically the J&J, and for those people who are maybe in another country, the AstraZeneca vaccine is by similar method. They contain a modified version of a different virus. Actually, they use a modified adenovirus, the same kind of virus that causes the common cold, but one that is modified that won't infect you. Inside the shell of the modified virus, this material again is placed, and this works as a vector to bring it into the cell. Your cell then see this material and then produce the protein, the spike protein, which your body then develop antibodies to, and such the like. Again, this is really just a quick overview, because we will, if people have specific questions, we'll be more than ready to answer those. So there's 2 shots for the Pfizer and Moderna, 1 shot for the Johnson & Johnson, and in other countries right now, especially like in India and a lot of Europe, they're using the AstraZeneca. The bottom line that I think it is that getting vaccinated against COVID-19 and following all the recommendations to protect yourself is going to be the major things that we all need to do. Now, some of the common side effects of the vaccine, we were talking a little bit ahead of time, is pain, redness, swelling. And then some people do develop some tiredness, headache, muscle pain, fever, chills, and nausea. Usually those symptoms and signs are a fact that your body is developing a reaction and trying to develop antibodies against what is placed in it. All right. I am going to leave talking about the blood clots a little bit till later. Right now, I'm going to switch over to Overseer Franklin. He's going to talk to us a little bit just about general prevention and things we can do.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Lang. I just want to thank the panel for gathering here. I just want to update you regarding the prevention. As we know, even though you have received the vaccines, right, whether you are taking the one shot, the J&J, or the Moderna and the Pfizer, which requires 2 shots, there is still a requirement for us to wear our mask. I was one of the early ones out the gate, being an educator. Back in January the 16th, got my first shot of Pfizer, and then on the 6th of February, got my second alongside my dad. Still wear your mask. Make sure that your mask is put on properly. I've seen many people wearing the mask beneath their chin, and only when they're in contact with someone, but try your best to wear the mask, cover your nose and your mouth. Also, social distancing. Still avoid the crowd. Avoid the crowd, especially if they're not from the same household. You don't know their whereabouts. And don't stop washing your hands. We say 20 seconds. I've taught the church, say the Lord's Prayer every time you wash your hands. That's 23 seconds. And you will ensure that you will try to rid yourself from this virus. Also, being an educator, what's happening now in the educational system is not a mandate, but they're using certain type of, nuances to the law. If you are a student who is not commuting, and let's say you are dorming, you are living on campus, coming down, they're going to require, if you're living on campus, to be vaccinated, show proof of vaccination. Also, if you are coming in person, right, for instruction, you also will be required. Because what we see are happening for those in the lower grades, K through 8, the children are asymptomatic. And the teachers are the ones who are being affected and showing symptoms with this virus. So they go home and they're affecting their family. So parents, and be aware and be alert and be flexible. We are trying to come back to some level of normalcy. Studies have shown there is indefinitely an educational slide over the past year, because most students do learn better within the classroom. I didn't say all, but most. And then there's a big gap with our students who are special need. They're not getting their occupational therapy, they're not getting their speech therapy. And as a result of that, the slide continues. So keep abreast, and as continue to tune in week by week, we will be sure to give you the necessary information. Thank you. Thank you. God bless.
All right. Thank you for that. We're going to open up now for, I'm going to start with Minister Molly, if she had any comments or any specific questions, and then we're going to go around that way.
Okay. I do have one question, and this deals with whether or not to get the vaccine. What I found is young women between the childbearing ages, especially women who are not married yet, looking to get married in the future, they have concern that if they take the vaccine, that it's going to in some way prevent them from later on having children. that is going to attack their reproductive system. So I wanted to ask the doctor, is there any evidence to this rumor, or should they just put that aside as that's just a rumor?
Very good question. And as a matter of fact, the CDC actually came out with a recommendation, I think yesterday, that it's now been found safe even in pregnant women. And so therefore, from the studies that they're doing, they did not find any evidence of any detrimental. Of course, I will always caution everything that I say it's still new. So, you know, there's more studies that has to be done, but at least up to 6 months is where most of the studies are out. There's been no evidence of any detrimental effects either for a person who is not pregnant, who's planning to be pregnant, or someone who's even pregnant. So and the CDC did just make that ruling yesterday that it's now safe, you know, for that group as well. So I would say, and again, you remember with this and everything else, I tell people is you need to, you know, like we're doing, get educated about it, have a good understanding. Then you also, those people who are that thing plan should pray about it and talk to the Lord, you know, have your personal conversation, and then you come up with that decision for yourself. From my standpoint and from my understanding and my praying, I am very much promoting it. But I want people to understand that, you know, we just want you to get all the knowledge. So that was an awesome question because I hear that almost every day. That was a question I was getting almost every day. So it's good that we're, you know, now being able to clarify that a little bit more. Okay. Anything else, Minister Molly?
I do have one more question that I'm getting a lot, and that has to do with because the vaccine now seems to be plentiful, we have enough out there. Why haven't the doctors, especially your general practitioners, been given the vaccine to administer in the office to their patients? Most people trust their doctor, but they don't trust like a drugstore or a lab someplace else. Is there any talk about giving this to the physicians so that they can give it to their patients?
Yeah, that's good. Another good question. And actually, in certain parts of the country, especially more the rural areas, that has been done. I think in some of the areas, and one of the issues really more the storage, you know, and I think with the Johnson & Johnson, I think we may see more of that, you know, down the road. That may be one strategy that I think they're going to take to try to get it out more. You're still with the Moderna and the Pfizer, you know, the temperatures that it has to be stored at makes it a little bit more difficult. The logistics is a little bit more difficult, and not everybody's going to be equipped to do that. And, you know, and also, you know, is the government going to pay for, you know, like, you know, getting all of these people up to that speed? Well, at the rate they're giving it out now, I think that may not be necessary, but I think it would be a great thing to have. And I think you may see that with the Johnson & Johnson product, being that the storage is not really as complicated. But what I also been doing, and I think what a lot of the doctors are also doing, they're actually, you know, opening up to talk to the patients, and the patients, and like my particular patients who call me, I get a lot of calls, but I'm able to talk to them about the whole system, and I'm open for any questions they have. So I'm finding people, you know, you're right, are more trusting of their personal physician. And so if the personal physicians are giving them the advice, I think we're seeing also more people, you know, getting vaccinated. Right? Anything else, Minister Molly?
No, I'm done.
All right. So I'm gonna just do one question online real quick, and then we'll go to Reverend May. So one person asks, if you take the Moderna and do not have any soreness, pain, or sleepiness, does that mean that the antibodies are not being developed? All right. The answer to that is no. Everybody's body react a little bit differently. All right, and you may have no symptoms at all, but that doesn't mean that the body is not still working. I think what they are going to probably be doing for most everybody, though, is down the road to check everybody's antibodies. So I'm thinking, you know, they're probably going to do that in about 3 to 6 months, where they're going to be checking everybody's antibodies to see, because there's ongoing studies that I think it's something worthwhile to know. But, your body may just, react in a way that you do not have any of the symptoms. All right, Reverend May. Okay, you still have you muted. 1 second. Could you unmute us, please? All right, go ahead.
Okay, I said I'm almost embarrassed. I have so many questions. But
That's all right.
I'll start
We'll
off.
go one by one. We'll go one by one and we'll
Okay.
get them out.
I
Yeah.
kind of broke it down. I kind of broke it down into testing and all of that. But in terms of testing, we hear on the news quite a bit that if you have any concerns that you should just get tested if you're not sure whether or not you have been exposed or if you have the virus. And if most of the common symptoms that it has is so generic to like the flu or allergies or what have you. How often can someone be tested? I mean, I know some people who would like to get tested every week. But how often would one recommend that someone gets tested if they're running symptoms kind of like the sneezing and the I call them allergy kind of symptoms, the coughing or sneezing and body aches that can sometimes accompany just allergies or just coming down with a common cold. It's gotten so confusing.
We'll talk
Do you
about
want me to go
testing.
through all my questions?
No, we're going to do them by first. So testing.
Okay.
Overseer, we're going to let you speak on that first, because I know they do a lot of testing in New York. He's in New York, by the way, just so everybody knows.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, with testing, I myself, being a pastor, we have gone back since July 27th, and I get tested twice per month, 1st and the 15th. The testing is also depending on your lifestyle. If you think you have been exposed, right, then it's highly recommended. It's also recommended even if you were vaccinated. As you know, the vaccine does not prevent you from contracting COVID. What the vaccine does, it helps you and prevents you from getting the serious side effects which may warrant you to go into the hospitals. So what we would say is do test often. Why I do it twice a week, there's that 14-day period, right? So getting tested every week, you have not even allowed if you were exposed for the virus to be evident in your system. So if you think you have been exposed, then quickly get tested. If you're exposed today, for the first time you test today, you will not really know. You'll have a false negative. So let about 3 days go by. But if you have symptoms, yes. But if you don't and you think you're exposed, do get tested. And what I've observed now, they've gotten so efficient with the testing, you don't really need a rapid test. You get it back within 24 hours. And sign up on the app, you'll get the alert, and you will be able to know your status. So yes, testing is readily available, and they do recommend it because what they're doing is they're also tracking to see if you were vaccinated and contracted this virus. And that's just data collection for the next 6 to 12 months for the CDC and FDA to really make some good determination. Hope I've helped.
Right, yeah. So that's good. I'm going to add a little bit to it. So a couple of things are, the vaccine is not that it actually doesn't prevent. There is definitely some part of prevention. However, it's not 100%, right? Nothing is 100%. And remember, the studies with the J&J was about 65 to 70%. One of the thought was because those trials were done later, there may have been more variants around and such alike. However, testing is really going to be important. And I think even especially with us trying to get back and opening everything back up, I think testing has now become, in my opinion, more important for those reasons. So right now, however, if you feel that you have any kind of symptoms, I still think it makes a a reason to get tested. It could just be the regular flu. You're right. It could be allergies. It's allergy season. But especially, if you're having fever, chills, and all of that, definitely I would get tested. No questions asked. You could also speak with your physician. And, they know you. For example, I've had tons of people this week come in with allergies, and I didn't tell them to test because it was clearly allergies from the symptoms and all that. So if you're unclear, speak with your physician. If you're not sure, you can't get to your physician, get tested, because then you'll know for sure. Overseer was right. The rapid test, a lot of places will charge you for that. All right. And while a lot of time, I still think, you can get the regular one done, not free of charge, while the rapid, they may charge you depending on where you go to have it done. But therefore, you're going to know, if you get tested, that yes, you're definitely free. Don't forget, the incubation period can be from 2 to 14 days. 14 days. So if you have symptoms, and I tested today, and I'm still having symptoms 7-10 days down the road, I would get retested, even if I tested negative, because to be really sure what is going on. So I think, and then, if I have any concerns, I would be tested 2 weeks later. Certain jobs, like the nursing homes and those people in those facilities, they test them every week. Some places even test them every day. Depends. So there's really not a problem in getting tested too much. It's more the cost effectiveness of it, why do it, and who's paying for it. That's really what it comes down to. So if you have any concerns, though, I think talk to your physician, could be do that, or just get tested to be sure. The issue with after even immunized is depending again, say I get immunized today, but I was exposed 2 days ago. That a shot is not going to protect me against that exposure, because of course it also takes about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks for the immunization to work and your body to develop the defenses. So you see that in between period, and that's the other reason why we should still be wearing the mask, because of all of the uncertainties in between. Also, they're still not clear if, a person who is fully immunized, like I've been done now for probably a month, fully immunized, am I still able to carry the virus? And then somebody who is not immunized, expose that person to it. It's still not clear yet. We're working on that data. So testing, important to kind of rule out, and also to help us to actually open things back up. All right, Reverend May. Okay, your next group of questions.
My next question is, I have a couple. This question is still about testing as well. With all the places that someone can get tested and you can get tested at any time, Overseer mentioned, I know the CDC, they're tracking, but is it now becoming the patient's responsibility to keep track of this? Because usually when we have a test, it comes back to our primary care physician, and our primary care physician kind of keeps a record on what kind of tests we've had. But is there a way that comes back to our primary, or is it just going into a national database for research?
Well, I'll answer to that. If you have it done, I know for a fact, if you have it done at the pharmacies and you tell them who your primary is, I've gotten tons of test results of my patients who have been to pharmacies. It's not everywhere. I think then also if you went to any other national, more big data sites, they probably are keeping the record of that as well. A lot of the local pharmacies, though, do send that result as is. Even if you go to the pharmacy and get your flu shot, if you tell them who your primary is, they actually send a record. So I have those. But again, otherwise, probably more that national bank was keeping track. But I would say anyone who's getting tested, and if you especially if you get a printout of your results, just keep that. You should make a file, keep it so you have a track of when you've been tested and such like. Right?
I have my next question, and it wasn't mentioned.
One second. Oh, you want to say something, Overseer?
No, yeah, I wanted to add to that. Most sites, right, and double check, they're giving you the MyChart app, right, which allows you to maintain, and you will see your history of your test, and you can share that with your primary care physician, your PCP, right? So request the app, most of them got an app. So therefore, security of that, it's tied to your healthcare provider, especially in New York City. It's called MyChart. And I've got mine done in Westchester and also New York City. And they pretty much merge the data together into one. So you see the full history of the testing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think New Jersey has something similar, right? That is through the state. Yeah, all right. So, I think that way we can get everything, kind of controlled that way, and you can keep track of it, which is very important going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm. My next question is about the long haulers. I think that's the correct title. Those individuals who are still having various symptoms from having had COVID, like shortness of breath and body aches and all of that kind of stuff. I would like to know how is that? I guess I know a couple people who have become long haulers who are still having some symptoms. And when they've gone to the doctors, they really come back with no type of medication, just kind of monitor the symptoms. How, I guess I'm kind of confused with how do we know if that really is going to develop into something or not? I mean, they're not running to the doctors anymore because they have been having these symptoms. One person complains of shortness of breath. Another person complains of having body aches and pains. And you certainly don't go to the doctor every time you have it. But how will that eventually be taken care of? I don't understand how it's being managed when they're not really getting anything really to take care of. It's kind of like not being taken care of, I think.
If there's an acute issue that can be taken care of, it's going to be, once again, my technician just have to mute everybody else, please, because I am getting a lot of feedback. Thank you. So the key point to look at is this. What we're seeing is that this thing has now become one of the chronic illness for those people, where it sounds, but it's a certain percentage now have a chronic illness where they can, not sure how long, but we're going to have to wait for time to tell us how long they're going to have these symptoms. And so therefore, unless they're having some acute issue, really you just it's going to be supportive care, and it's going to take us time to elucidate and see how best to support these people. So it's going to take a process of time. So if they're having constant shortness of breath, all right, what are we going to do? Are we going to do some kind of rehab for that kind of person, see if that helps? So that's one of the thought that they have, where you have them do a spirometer and, almost like to build up and strengthen their lungs. So that's one thing I know we're looking into, for the chronic aches and pain. Is it become like a fibromyalgia? I'm not sure if everybody understand what's fibromyalgia, where you have these, resistant kind of pain all over the body, and there's, certain treatment that we try for that. So I think we have to see, it's still young, that we have to see where it's going. So all I could say for those people right now, stay close with your physician. All right. Yes, you don't have to go every day, but make sure they're following you up on a regular basis so we can see where your symptoms are going and see what other methods we may be able to try. With time, I think we should be able to figure out what to best do. So it's still young in the process, and there's still a lot of unknowns. So we're going to need time to, really work that out. And one thing I can say for those people, as with all chronic, symptoms that people have, is keep a good track of when you have them, how you have them, what may make it worse, what may make it better, and really, communicate that with your physician, because that could give us some insight in the best way to potentially then treat it and then to work with it. And this is one of those unknowns that we have with this disease, though, is how long are these symptoms are going to last? And how long are people going to have to be dealing with all of this? So and this is one of the reasons then why also I am a big proponent of prevention. Because you remember there was one school of thought that, well, just let everybody get the disease, right? And we'll have herd immunity that way.
Yeah.
First of all, we would have lost millions more. And number
Yeah.
two, what prolonged long-term effect having disease is going to have on everybody. So this is, kind of where we are with that right now. All right.
And if
All right.
if a person were interested in getting into a research study for these long hauler symptoms, is that something, because we don't really hear a lot about how to get into some type of research study. Is that something that they should be going to their primary for,
They could
or
talk
should
with
they
their
be
primary.
seeking out?
They could talk with their primary. They could also put a call to, whatever state agency. I will make it a point of look into that and have that on our next program, most likely. But we will look into that as well to see where there are studies, because that's great, because, we do need to do studies to see what is the best way to treat, a lot of the issues. Yep.
Because
So we'll get some more
individuals
information.
okay, thank you. Because the individuals I know got the virus early on when we first found out
Yes.
about it, and they've been suffering for
Still.
over a year now. They're
Yep,
still
yep.
suffering.
Yep.
The other thing that I would like to ask about is, when we were talking about the vaccine, are there any health conditions that are contraindicated in getting any of these vaccines?
There's nothing that is totally contraindicated. There's some things that you have to be cautious about. So, for example, anybody with a really anaphylactic reaction, like a major allergic reaction, will need to touch bases with their physician to make sure that they're going to be well observed and such. Not that they couldn't get the shot, but they have to be prepared. Very immunosuppressive vaccine may not work as well. So those people are going to have to be tracked very carefully to see, did they build the antibodies, and are they definitely immune. There's really no major contraindications away from if you have an allergic reaction to any of the components of the vaccine, and such like, or if you've had a really severe allergic reactions before. Because I have actually been looking at that. There's nothing that is really the other issue with getting the vaccine. If you have been recently treated with the antibody treatment or the recombinant treatment, they do want you to wait 90 days before you get vaccinated. So that.
And also, my last question I'm going to
No,
ask.
you can have more. Yeah, go ahead.
My last question is that if you have gotten the vaccine, they tell you that you should not have a mammography for within 4 weeks or something to that effect?
Yes.
Why is that?
Yeah. Well, a couple of the things is that it's actually a couple of reasons. Number one, and I've not had a mammography, but I've heard all the stories. You do get some people get a lot of pain post getting a mammogram, just from muscle pain. So they don't want anything that is, making that fuzzy looking. Is this from the vaccine versus the mammogram? I think that is the main reason. All right. And then the other thing, because there's no reason in terms of the amount of radiation that is causing it. I think the major reason is that you don't have any other aches and pains that may be then related to the vaccine.
Okay, that's my questions that I have written.
I think, Overseer, there was a question online.
Yes, let me get that. And I see Minister hand is up. The question online is, before you get the Moderna vaccine, should you all hold off taking your medications, vitamins, or is it safe to continue taking your medication, vitamins, the day you receive the vaccination? And they specify Moderna.
They specify what? Go ahead.
Moderna.
Okay, yeah. Well, there is no contraindication with any of the vaccines and any of your vitamins and stuff. Now, let me caution that by, if any of because people take all kinds of stuff and not even sure what they are. So if you're taking anything that may be immunosuppressive, it could be a natural thing, but it's immunosuppressive, or even some of your other, some of your general vitamins that may cause any other of your other symptoms, you would want to hold off on all of those. So you need to be quite aware of what it is that you're actually taking and what is made of. For example, I'll give you an example. A lot of people take a lot of natural stuff, including cactus and such like. I mean, for example, I'm just giving you one example. Cactus is actually a good anti-inflammatory. And of course, if you're having any stomach problems, if you're having problems with, are you on any blood thinner, you probably shouldn't be taking that. But does most people know that? No. So that's why I want you to always, run by your physician what all, your herbs, your natural product, everything that you're taking, you should run it by your physician. All right. Okay.
I had a couple. I did have more. I did have more questions. That's why I wanted to give Reverend May time to get in. But one question I also had was for the J&J vaccine. Has anybody thought about the homeless people, the people that are on the street that are not going to go in for a vaccine, but because it's only one shot, to give that to homeless people so that they can have that one shot and at least keep it from spreading in the neighborhood? Also, in college dorms where kids come back to school, but they haven't been vaccinated. Has anybody thought about using that vaccine in those areas?
Yeah, that's one of the areas. One second till he mutes it. Okay, yeah, that's one of the areas where they're thinking this would be very worthwhile. Transient population, college kids, and even people who I don't have time to go schedule a second vaccine. People who have that mentality. So that's the group that they're really thinking this is going to be well used in, and it's going to find a use. And also the other reasoning for that is this, you're right, the storage. You don't need that intricate storage, so you may be able to get it around and carry it around even in a small refrigerator. So you'll see how you'll be able to get that around and be more profitable. So I know they have looked into that. I know some parts of California, they have been looking into that, and I'm sure other places will start looking into that soon.
Okay. Well, the other question centered.
1 second.
I'm sorry.
You want to answer that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I know New York City has been really, set back because of the Johnson & Johnson. The mayor, de Blasio, set up a mobile unit, and they have been going into the rural areas and also targeting those who are homeless to administer the one shot. Also, they're pushing before school is out to get everyone vaccinated, especially those who are 16, and that would be the Pfizer. So they're looking at the high school since they're in school, but as you know, about 30% have opted in, so there's still 70% that is not. So yes, it's important, and they have thought about the J&J, so they're waiting to see if the pause is lifted, because it's definitely one shot. It's very convenient. We know it's 65% efficacious, but it's 100% with the variant. So there's a lot of pros there, and they're waiting to hear what does the CDC and the FDA recommends.
Okay, good. My other questions have to do with the children. The 12 to 17-year-olds, is there anything on the horizon that says that they're going to open the gates for those children to go to clinics or drugstores to be able to get vaccinated?
It's not clear what they're going to do yet. I think they should be getting an approval pretty soon, fully approval for that group. And I think they're going to have to come up with some kind of general stations, I think, where they can do it. I'm not sure. You have to understand the pharmacists and the drugstore, even with regular immunizations, they're very leery about doing children for some reason. I guess some of it is just their training and such like. So I think that's where they're going to probably have to call on maybe opening up some centers specifically for that, and or more of maybe the hospitals, parts of the hospitals are specific centers, because the pharmacists and the people that work in the pharmacies are not as comfortable. They don't feel as prepared to give shots to children. So that's one of the issue that we're dealing with there. Hmm. So I think they have to come up with a system, though. Hmm.
Okay. And that being said, there are concerns about the children that are now in school, especially on the middle school level, where we've
Yes.
seen where schools are having to close back down after they've opened. Is it
Hmm.
really safe from from a medical perspective for children to be in the classroom?
I think it's safe if all of the precautions are being taken. Because, for example, I think if all of the teachers are immunized, and then, amongst the children, if they can do the distancing, even though I know they've even cut down on the distance, but if they can do that well enough. But I think it's from my standpoint, this is more personally speaking, I would rather the kids be home until everybody's vaccinated. Because, now we're seeing also an increase in the incidence of the more severe disease in the younger people. So I think, from my standpoint, if we have these vaccines on the horizon, and I know especially because we're close to the end of school. I was a little bit more getting them back there, but I think if we are all safe, everybody's vaccinated, and then we can go back out in force in the next school year. Not everybody agrees with my opinion. This is solely my opinion that I think that will be safer.
Yeah,
And what we
let me
have found too with the children going back to school, it's not so much the teachers, they have been vaccinated,
Yeah.
but the parents and the grandparents that are picking these children up. They are not
Yes.
wearing their masks. They're standing there with the children standing there. So they're in close proximity for a
Yes.
length of time. And they don't
Yes.
seem to understand that, and the teachers had no authority over them.
Yes.
So they
That's
can't
it.
really do anything about it. Something needs to be done with the general public to let them know if you're going on a school ground, you need to be masked.
Yes. Hmm.
But
And
it's
I
not
think
happening.
we have to set up more of that training. And I think it's still that whole mentality of people who think suffer. We have a group of people who think nobody can tell me what to do. We have a group of people who seem to think that they're invincible. And then we have another group of people who just, this virus is a fake thing anyway. So there's so much things involved why, it caused it. Overseer, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, Minister, to your point, I think what we are doing in forums like these is educating the public, right? And yes, I've often seen it where parents do pick up their children and they are not masked. Even also, when you pick up your child and they are in the car, they're just coming from the schoolroom. You should still do some level of washing hands, sanitizing, wear the mask until you get home, take the outer clothes off, right? We still got to follow those protocols. And I guess we see our government opening up the restaurants, opening up churches, opening up all these different places. Then everyone feels then it's safe, get back to the movies. But if you really look at it, the openings that they're doing is really more economical, right? It's around these major events. It's time to close the summer. Let's get the pools open. So, what is the science? What is the data that is driving this? What they tell in New York City, schools are not being closed as often anymore. So, what they did, they changed the metric, right? As opposed to when one or two incidents in the school, you will close down the school. Now they're saying if it's 3 and it's in the separate classrooms, and so they've changed how you determine when to close the schools. So the schools are open much longer. But to be quite frank, what we are seeing is the schools are doing their best. Students now have these partitions that they put up, and they themselves sanitized between class. They're also trying not to do a lot of movement from one class to the next, pretty much put the school on a soft lockdown where the teachers are the ones who are moving as opposed to the children who are moving. So there are many things that are going into the school system, and they are boasting that the safest place to be is in the classroom, right? But the big challenge there is having the staff, not only the educators, but the custodial staff, the administrative staff, everyone who come in contact with the children in that environment, making sure that there is no hesitancy, there's no apprehension, there is no fear. So educating. And you mentioned the point about having it gone into clinics. What have happened also is they're leaning on the churches, where they're asking the church, open your doors, have your pastor encourage its membership to be vaccinated. And that is a voice that they listen to, a voice of reason. And that has been working in the New York City area. So I'm encouraging pastors, open up your churches and have your saints receive the vaccine, especially for your seniors.
Yep. But I think, what coming to you, I think we're gonna get there, I think, eventually. And I think we need to be cautious. And I think Minister Molly is right. We don't see some of the caution being taken because people are just willy-nilly going around and doing whatever they want to do. Reverend May?
Just going to say that there was at one point that we were talking a lot about the air quality. We're not talking about air quality anymore. I mean, I think we can do a lot of these precautions, but if the air quality sucks, what are you going to do? And I don't know that, all schools have good air quality, good air exchange. I don't know.
That's one of the things I was going to mention before we close. I'm actually going to talk a little bit about the J&J because they actually did go ahead and re-release the J&J yesterday, all right, the vaccine, and the thinking is this, and I'm not going to get too scientific, but for example, there were a few more cases of the blood clots, all in younger females below age 50. So there was about 13. So the incidence of the blood clot then in those that were vaccinated, about 13 in a million. So that 13 per million is what 13 in the 6 million that they had done. And then the regular incidence of blood clot in the regular population actually is about 2%. And actually, if you put in younger women who may be on birth control, the regular incidence is up to as much as 10%. So the thinking is that, and also one other thing, the incidence of blood clots after being infected with the virus is 10 times more than what we have seen of anybody who after the vaccination. So with that all said, the thinking is that the risk of the blood clot from getting the vaccine is much less than the overall risk of both getting a blood clot natural causes and actually very much less risk than of getting the virus, getting the infection, where there's a 10 times more frequency of blood clots in the people who have had the infection. So with that said, they have actually put out the vaccine just with a caution that the younger women in the childbearing age should just be more aware of the various symptoms that you could get if you get a blood clot. So the incidence is very low, and because of that, they're have re-released the vaccine. So I don't know if anyone has any particular question about that particular issue, but I wanted to bring that up on the program today. All right. Okay. All right. So with that being said, and I think that's very important information because, and I think I was very happy because that's where I was leading, that we really need to make this available because it's easily given. And again, as a matter of fact, just to put a little caveat to that, the AstraZeneca, the similar vaccine that is again Europe and India. And as a matter of fact, guys, you got to pray for India. India the rate is skyrocketed. As a matter of fact, India was sharing, because that's where AstraZeneca is produced, and they were sending to a lot of the countries, for example, like Jamaica. Now they have actually shut down their exporting of it because they need it all for themselves. So we have another crisis developing because of that. But the AstraZeneca was the same thing. The incidence of the blood clots was I think they had about 18 cases about the millions that they have given. So I just want everybody to take that into consideration, that the incidence, of getting the virus and getting a blood clot is much, much, much greater. So you got to keep that in mind. Now, to speak
Bishop, I
about,
had a question.
go ahead.
No, you had a question. I didn't listen to the release, but
Yes.
were they able to pinpoint what type of patients that received the J&J that had a blood clot, so they
Yeah.
could actually any
And that,
preconditions? What?
no, not really really young females was where most of the cases were, and
That's a
and that is a warning that they actually put on it, that it's a little bit more increased incidence in younger females. They didn't. I think more work has to be done, because I didn't see any documentation of the ones who actually have the blood clot. Were they also on birth control? All of that has to come, but in general, it was younger females below the age of 50 that they see an increased incidence. And actually, everybody was in that age group who had it. That had it. So
Okay.
they did just put out a warning, that, just to be careful and to look out for the symptoms. Is really the biggest thing with that is a headache, actually, is the biggest symptom where that's concerned. So if you did get that vaccine and they seem to see, and also it seemed to be only, is once they get that one shot is when that kind of show up. The first, get the shot, and after a few weeks, up to 2 weeks, but once you get to 3 weeks, once you get to 3 weeks, then there was really no more incidents in that group. Again, just to talk before we wrap up, some Reverend May brought up the dearest part of this conversation to my heart, is the ventilation and all of that, because that's actually, so you want to call it my pet peeve, actually. That is my thing. So she really hit my button, because, as a matter of fact, there's a couple of churches now I know that recently are closing down for a few weeks. And why? They have had outbreaks. And why? I'm going to give you why. It all goes back to ventilation and not wearing the mask when you preach, when you sing, and when you do all that. Because and it's not just church, everywhere. Look, I was looking at the court case. When the judge gets ready, he takes his mask off. The president, but again, they don't let us know. I know in the White House and maybe in the courthouse, they may have the good ventilation. They may have it, so I'm not sure. But I know most of these churches don't. And the minute somebody steps up to the pulpit, overseer, I know this is my pet peeves too. The minute somebody steps up there, they take their mask off. Now, guys, when are we more likely spewing the virus? When we're talking, when we're coughing, when we're preaching, when we're singing. Oh my Lord, you got to bring it from up here and let it out. And that's the time we find people are not wearing their mask. So unless you have super ventilation that has a negative pressure where you're sucking that air out, you all better wear your mask. And this is I'm really telling everybody this, because you see, we thought that's how the wave was bad. And now we're going to see a major wave, as I just told you. And I'm sure Reverend May seemed like she knows something. These churches now are shutting back down because they're just not. And now again, and everybody, because what are you saying? Everybody come to church in a mask. And then the minute you speak, you take it off. Unless your ventilation system is great and you're cleaning that air, this is where we're seeing the biggest spread right now. And just so you know, and overseer, I know this, your plexiglass is not going to protect you from that. The plexiglass will kind of take the heavy stuff that just comes out. But unless that plexiglass goes above your head, around the sides, and then you have a ventilation system sucking it out of there, because of course, you know what they do? Somebody else come into that space. So that also has to be sucked out of there, or else you best wear your mask. You can even stop buying the plexiglass, in my opinion. Wear your mask and really, double mask if you have to, but wear them and really protect. Again, and anybody, I know in our church budgets and things, really look into air cleaners or something that can clean the air. They have some that can locally, use those where necessary, because this is where the spread is happening, is in the air. I'm not saying you still wipe down your surfaces, wipe down your microphones, but how about this? I saw this, here's a good picture. Person have their mask off, they wipe the microphone down, but the other person steps right into where they were just standing. and then took their mask off. This is what happens. Look at any of those programs on TV. This happens Sunday after Sunday, week after week. I look at them and I cringe anymore. I mean, I'm like, trying to send them messages. And listen, I'm even on there sending them chat messages. Hey, where's your mask? But it's really such an important thing, I think, that we miss. And I think if everybody practices, and even I'm gonna come back to you, and even in your homes, the other issue is if somebody in the house is exposed, all right, really try to, distance, even in the homes, wear your mask. And of course, if you're infected, you don't just, then get infected and, okay, you're going to leave your house and then you go to somebody else's house. All of that stuff goes on. And we're seeing a lot of problems. And that's why we're seeing such a big spread. Overseer, you wanted to say something?
No. I was saying, if you're sick, stay home.
Yeah.
If you're sick, stay home.
Yes.
And also, there are devices, right? Just like the small heater size, like for the Sunday school
air cleaners. Yeah. Yes.
We got the air cleaners, the UV, HV, to clean the air. And, you can also spray the Lysol right behind,
Yes.
So what we practice is everyone else wear the mask except when the pastor goes up to preach. So this way, at least, the air is not, then you got some folks, well, if the pastor can take his mask off, why can't I? You get into all that kind of stuff. But just use common sense, right? Use common sense and be healthy, be safe. We're not being fearful. We're being practical. We're being sensical, being realistic. Over 600,000 souls have died in the United States alone. One church, one pastor told me he has 2 churches and he lost over 100 members. And the reason is, he said to me, it's a Latin, is Hispanic, right? So he said all the communications back in March, back in early February was in English. And his people didn't understand what was going on.
Oh, no.
So can you imagine? We were so much pushing with our native language, but not remembering all the other population. And to have 100 from 2 churches, wow.
Yep, actually, one of the bigger churches in our area lost 300 people. One church. Yep.
One church.
Yep. So one church. Yeah.
Wow.
All righty. All right. Last words, Minister Molly. Any parting words you'd like?
Just to tell everybody to please wear your mask, stay safe. Think of it as, I'm doing this for myself, but I'm doing it for everybody else too. Make yourself a committee of one to keep people safe.
Okay. Reverend May?
I would just like to say 2 things. One is the word says, don't be just a hearer of the word. And so we've gotten a lot of information today. I've heard a lot of great things that I need to share with other people. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something with all this information. We want to gather information, but we also want to use it and to share it with one another. And I'd also like to invite everyone to join us, the Greater Central Jersey Clergy Association, on Thursday, May 6th for the National Day of Prayer. There will be flyers and information out, and certainly you can go to our website at Greater Central Jersey Clergy Association.org to get further information. And thank you for allowing us to be a part of this wonderful, wonderful discussion.
All right. So, Overseer, anything else, sir?
Yeah, real quick. The Bible said, my people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge. And I just want to speak to my fellow clergy pastors. Don't spiritualize this, and say it's the devil, it's a mark of the beast. This will pass. This will pass. There have been quarantine before. The first major quarantine was over 365 days, and that was Noah, his wife, and his 3 sons and their wife. They were quarantined. Think about it. And then we had a quarantine just for a day when the Lord had the death angel pass over. So let's be compliant. Use the virtual platforms to engage your population, and the church will never go under. He said to Peter, upon this rock I build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail. God bless you. We love you. Stay safe. Wear that mask.
All right. We really thank God for everybody joining with us today. Thank you for all the very interesting questions. And thank you, Reverend May, for hitting my pet peeve so I didn't forget about it. And it's really a joy to do this. And, we're here. And actually, we have changed our lineup. We're 3 weeks out of the month. The fourth week, believe it or not, just so everybody know, the reason we have a marriage committee meeting that we have, and so that's going to be on that. That's what I'm doing on the fourth one. So for 3 weeks out of the month, we're here and we're just sharing information. We also would like you, if you just go to pflmi.org, and you can reach out to us with any questions that you have. You can reach out when we're live on the Facebook or on the YouTube, and just make sure you're sharing with everybody. And any program that you miss, you can still go to your Facebook or YouTube and still see the old program. So lots of information is there. But guess what? We're going to get through this together as a people of God and as a people. If we come together, share our ideas, share our thoughts, put it all together, share in prayer, and God is going to see us through. So until the next time, we're saying God bless you. Again, thank you, Reverend May. Thank you, Minister Molly, and God bless you all. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of the week.
Point family, what an awesome time we just had. To all our first-time guests, we truly appreciate you for joining our live broadcast. We would like to hear from you, so please send us your comments, questions, or testimonies of how this program has impacted your life. Our email address is info@pflmi.org. Finally, if you feel led at any time to give to this ministry, please visit us at pflmi.org and click on the tab for donations. You can also give via Cash App at $PFLMIORG. We're looking forward to meeting with you live on next week's program. Have a blessed and prosperous weekend.